Finally, question 7. A mutual fund had returns of 12% compounded monthly in the first year, 18% compounded annually in the second year, and 4% compounded quarterly in the third year. What would a $1,000 investment 3 years ago be worth today? So we can do this in multiple ways. I'm going to confess I'm a big fan of algebra, so I would probably write this out algebraically. Well, I started with 1,000. Then I have 1 plus 12% over 12, first year to the power of 1, multiplied by 1.18 because it's annual, and then 1 plus 0.04 divided by 4 quarterly for the third year. So that's going to be 4. Sorry, this is 12 because it was for 12 months. That's the way I would think to do this in my head, and I would get the right answer. However, a lot of people, most people, prefer to use something like a calculator. So what we're going to do is look at this by using our BA2 Plus calculator and also by keeping track. So I'm going to add one extra column, and that's the year. In the first year, we earn 12% compounded monthly. I'm going to write J12 equals 12%. In the second year, we have 18% annual, and I'm writing that in. And in the third year, we have J4 equals 4%. And sometimes these can happen for multiple years. The textbook, whose PDF is up on our website, our Learning Hub class, has an example where things take place over multiple years. So expect to see that as well. Okay, so for the first year, that's 12 months and a monthly rate. Our interest rate is 12. That's a lot of 12s in a row. And our present value was $1,000. And this is what we're going to compute. Next, in our next year, whatever my future value is, I'm going to move that over to present value. It's annual, but it's an 18% interest rate. Payment is always 0, and I'm still going to compute. Finally, I'm going to do this again for 4 quarters. Quarterly, 4, and whatever I got here, I'm going to put there. So let's try this. I start and I go 12 for N. My interest rate also 12, and I'm going to make sure my PYCY turns to 12. And when you change PYCY changes automatically. We start with $1,000, make sure our payment is 0, and at the end of the first year, we have negative 1,126.825, and we store everything. I'm going to make this positive because I'd like my present values to be positive, but you don't need to do that. I'm going to press present value. What I've done here is put this into the present value. So now let's clear and start at the beginning. N is 1. IY is now 18. PYCY is back to 1. Present value I did. Payment I don't have to put in 0 every time, but I like to. And I go compute future value, and now I have 1326. And that's negative. Sorry, 1329 and 65 cents. I like to make it positive by just pressing that plus minus button, and then I'm going to press present value. What I've done now is store this in my present value. Clear that. N is now 4. Our interest rate is also 4, and my PYCY has gone to 4, enter, and I clear. I've done my present value and payment already, so I'm just going to compute the future value, and I get 1383.642. Anytime I see this, I'm going to save it. So store 1 in case I need it again. And you never know when you're going to need it. So the answer for A is the future value is 1,383.64 cents. And you can go up here and see I've done this on my own off camera, and I did get the exact same answer, which is nice to know. Part B. What was the average rate compounded monthly of return earned? So we're trying to find the average rate. one advantage is we already have this future value here. So it's monthly for 3 years. That means we're investing this for 36 months. IY is what we're going to be looking for. PYCY, well, that's monthly. And I start with what I started with at the beginning, $1,000, and I'm going to end with my future value, $1,383 and change. So let's put that in, 36N. Let's go to our PYCY. I already actually set that to be 12. Good for me. Start with $1,000, PV, 0 payment. It's always good to recall. So I'm going to say recall future value and know what I have. Recall is how you check things out. So let's compute IY, and then we find out that J12 equals 10.87% and change, and that's our average rate. So if I had taken $1,000 and invested it at 10.87% compounded monthly, after 3 years, I would have $1,300. Okay, let's do one more part. Part C. The fund lost $100 in its 4th year. What was the average effective rate of return for the 4 years? So what we're going to do is look at just that 4th year. I don't need to use my TVM buttons. We lost $100. So we started with $13.83 and 64 cents, and we lost 100. So we end up with $12.83.64. Here, I'm going to say it doesn't matter as much if we hold on to our rounding, because now we're on a specific number, and it's always good to hang on to our interest, hang on to all those decimal places, but it's less important in this particular example. So now our future value is going to be always negative. Our payment's always 0. We started out with $1,000 and we invested it, and this is effective, so it's annual, over 4 years. And our interest rate is what we're looking for. So let's start. N is 4. IY we can leave alone. PYCY now changes to 1. Our present value is still $1,000, but our end or future value is, we have to clear out a PY. Negative at the end. Our future value is now 1,200 and change. So our interest rate's going to be smaller. So we end up with 6.44%. And that's how we do average interest rates. Importantly, I'm going to say that you should be practicing this. There's questions on the online homework as well as questions in the textbook. This is a good thing to practice.